Darth Maul was shown to have survived Obi-Wan Kenobi's severing in Star Wars The Clone Wars, allowing him to flee Naboo. Though Maul was presumed dead after the events of Star Wars Episode 1 The Phantom Menace, he was resurrected during the Clone Wars and became a threat to Obi-Wan Kenobi and the Republic. How did he manage to come back to life? Is he trying to find Obi-Wan once more? And is he going to make it through his subsequent showdown with the Jedi Master? Well, I guess we'll find out. Please hit the like button and subscribe. Welcome to Star's Empire. Starting us off, Obi-Wan as a young Padawan. Maul and Kenobi share many similarities. They're both Force-sensitive and they both started their careers at a young age after being separated from their families in opposite ends of the galaxy. Obi-Wan's parents gave him away to the Jedi when he was a baby, according to the Star Wars Encyclopedia's Ultimate Star Wars New Edition. They brought him to Coruscant as a youngling, where he studied Force techniques, lightsaber combat, and meditation before being chosen as Master Qui-Gon Jinn's Padawan. Though initially rebellious and eager for action, Qui-Gon taught Kenobi restraint. During the events of Master and Apprentice, Obi-Wan's devotion to the Jedi Council and their way of life surpassed even that of his master, who was adamant about anticipating all logical possibilities and not allowing emotions to cloud his judgment. Voyage of Temptation Season 2, Episode 13 of the Clone Wars reveals that Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan were sent to the planet Mandalore to protect Duchess Satine Kryze during the Mandalorian Civil War. Obi-Wan fell in love with Satine during his time there and was willing to leave the Jedi Order to be with her. He followed the Jedi Code, which forbids romantic relationships, and returned to Coruscant, leaving her to rebuild Mandalore after the war. This will be important later, so make sure to take notes. Next, Darth Maul's troubled childhood. Darth Maul had no such complications. Maul was born on the Outer Rim planet of Dathomir, as depicted in the comic book miniseries Star Wars Darth Maul, Son of Dathomir. Even in his early years, the young Night Brother struggled with a deep rage, which his mother Talzin often ignored. She was the leader of the highest-class Night Sisters, a band of witches turned assassins who used dark magic to manipulate the Force despite not being born Force-sensitive. In E.K. Johnston's novel Queen's Peril, Maul admits to himself that he was resentful of this as someone who did have a connection to the Force. This rage drew the attention of the Sith, particularly Sith Lord Darth Sidious. Sidious went to Dathomir for a Sith apprentice, as depicted in George Mann's short story An Unwilling Apprentice. Though he had intended to make Talzin his apprentice, he sensed the power in Maul's then uncontrollable rage and chose him instead. Sidious bestowed the title of Darth Maul on his new Padawan and trained him in martial arts and lightsaber combat, particularly with the now iconic double-bladed lightsaber. More importantly, Sidious instilled in Maul a deep hatred for the Jedi for their role in the Sith's destruction. According to Queen's Peril, Maul felt abandoned by the Jedi, who abandoned him on his home planet despite his Force sensitivity, which fueled his rage. Moving on, Darth Maul being split into two by Obi-Wan Kenobi. Maul's tenacity and dark side powers enabled him to avoid a fatal lightsaber strike and enter a manic exile on Lothal Minor. Darth Maul appears in the Clone Wars and the post-2014 canon Star Wars timeline in a significantly different iteration than in the Phantom Menace and Legends era material. Darth Maul was originally a Zabrak from Eridonia who was trained by Darth Sidious during Darth Plagueis' time and died on Naboo when Obi-Wan Kenobi sawed him in half. Canon reimagines Maul as a Dathomirian, a Zabrak-like species from the canonical Dathomir. According to the canon sourcebook, the Star Wars book, Maul's near-fatal injury was caused by the dark side's strange powers, which Sith used to cling to life at all costs. Maul's dismembered form is shown in the Clone Wars tie-in comic The Clone Wars: The Sith Hunters, falling into a container transported by ship to the junk world of Lothal Minor. Maul continued to sustain himself with the dark side, driving him insane until his brother Savage Opress discovered him and brought him back to Dathomir, where Mother Talzin revived him. Following that, why Savage Opress revived Darth Maul? The decision to resurrect Maul was strange, given that Savage Opress was created to serve as a stand-in for Maul during the Clone Wars, but the retcon is credited to George Lucas. With Maul resurrecting, Obi-Wan Kenobi gained perhaps his most significant and personal adversary, who tormented the Jedi Master throughout the war. However, Kenobi's ultimate victory over Maul would be preserved when the two faced off one last time in Star Wars Rebels, in which Kenobi indeed slew Maul. Maul's survival of his bisection appears impossible, given the fundamental similarities in human, Zabrak, and Dathomirian physiology, but Maul sustaining himself with the dark side demonstrates a real difference in depth between the selfless Jedi and self-absorbed Sith. Furthermore, Maul isn't the first Star Wars character to survive a wound like this. The Legend's continuity's Imperial dark side using Boltrunin, a former Jedi Maul, was similarly bisected but maintained his ruined body with the dark side. Although having Maul survive his duel with Obi-Wan Kenobi may not appeal to all Star Wars fans, it did allow the former Sith Lord to be portrayed more on screen. Maul's defeat and subsequent abandonment by Darth Sidious stripped him of everything, but he became an obsessed and dangerous adversary for Obi-Wan. Maul survived without his lower half thanks to his dark side mastery and a bit of luck, escaping Naboo to Lotho Minor and eventually returning in Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Next, Obi-Wan Kenobi facing his foe. Maul took on Opress as an apprentice and became obsessed with locating Obi-Wan. Darth completely controlled the planet after slaughtering 𝐒𝐿 in a duel. Darth Maul and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Kenobi fought and killed his former love, Duchess Satine Kryze, throughout Star Wars: The Clone Wars. After capturing and torturing Maul, Darth Sidious assassinated Savage Opress. He was the leader of the crime syndicate Crimson Dawn after surviving the Clone Wars. Maul reveals that he used the Sith Temple as a battle station from which he could exact vengeance on all enemies while assisting Bridger and his companions, Ahsoka Tano and Kanan Jarrus. While Kanan had defeated Maul, he was not done with Bridger and his companions. Maul followed the Padawan and his friends to their ship, the Ghost. After kidnapping the crew, Maul forced Bridger to combine his Jedi holocron with a Sith artifact found on Melitor. The ritual connected Maul and Ezra through the Force. Through a second ritual on the planet Dathomir, Maul discovered Obi-Wan Kenobi was alive and hiding on Tatooine. Maul nearly exacted his vengeance when he arrived on Tatooine searching for Kenobi. By manipulating Bridger, Maul could entice Kenobi to a final duel. Darth Maul was cradled in Obi-Wan Kenobi's arms as he died after fatally wounding his longtime foe. Maul's story ultimately focuses on resilience and the power of hatred as a motivator. The final season of Star Wars: The Clone Wars teased an epic duel between Ahsoka Tano and Darth Maul, but numerous gaps in Maul's backstory must be filled. Finally, why Obi-Wan managed to defeat Darth Maul. Maul was the first Sith to reveal himself and kill a Jedi Master after 1,000 years in the shadows. Assuming the fight was over, he could have let down his guard. As a result, he was oblivious to Obi-Wan's intentions laid behind him, which caused him to fight. Another explanation for Obi-Wan's victory over Maul is that he channeled his dark side during the fight. Obi-Wan's face becomes noticeably angry after his master dies before his eyes, and his strikes become heavier and faster paced. And that slight advantage may have been all he needed to defeat Maul, as Anakin did in Star Wars: Revenge of the Sith when he used his rage to kill Count Dooku. The actual reason for Obi-Wan's victory, however, was that he was the better fighter. While Darth Maul's moves were flashy, Obi-Wan eventually established himself as one of the galaxy's best duelists, and his fight with Maul was only the beginning of his development. Whatever the reason, Obi-Wan was the first person in over 1,000 years to kill a Sith, so whether by chance, skill, or anything else, Obi-Wan was able to secure his position as one of the most influential people in the Jedi Order. So that marks the end of today's video. Do you think Maul had any chance to beat Obi-Wan? Let us know in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching.